Hello there, my name is Paul the Star Wars Guy, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. And welcome to my series of talking about each Star Wars movie that has come out so far. I thought it would be a good idea to talk about what Star Wars has already given us before we look to the future of where Star Wars could be going. So I'm going to be talking about each movie individually and giving my honest, raw thoughts on it and giving you two different perspectives of it. What I think of it now and what I thought of each movie when I first saw it. And I'm also going to be doing each movie in order that they released in theaters. So this video is going to be about Star Wars A New Hope. Then it's going to be Empire, then Jedi, then all three prequel movies, then Force Awakens, then Rogue One, then Last Jedi, then Solo, and finally Rise of Skywalker. So make sure you don't miss out on any of that. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already, and let's get into it. So let's start with when I first saw this movie. I saw this movie, like I mentioned in my last video, along with the whole rest of the original trilogy, when Mom and Dad rented the movies for me on DVD during the build-up to when Revenge of the Sith was coming out in theaters. We watched all the movies, 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6 at the time, and it was then that I completely understood how episodes 1 and 2 connected to episodes 4 through 6 and how all the characters lined up through there. Now, I'm a little bit ashamed to admit this because when I was in 5th grade at the time, when episode 3 was about to come out, and I was seeing the original trilogy for the first time, A New Hope had always been my least favorite of the original trilogy, because back then my 5th grade self was only concerned with how cool the lightsaber fights looked. And this was a mentality that I kept for many years until I grew up. So I really didn't enjoy A New Hope as much as I enjoyed Empire and Jedi, much less how much I enjoyed episodes 1 and 2, because the lightsaber fights were more flashy, more upbeat, more stylized, whatever adjective you want to throw in there. So, what do I think of the movie now? Well, I have certainly come to enjoy the movie and certainly respect the movie the more I see it and the older that I've gotten, though I do still believe that Empire and Jedi have improved on what New Hope started, but I'll talk about those movies next time. So, I want to talk about the story and the characters of A New Hope and what I like about them. We'll start with the characters. First off, I firmly believe that every single one of the main characters in A New Hope was cast absolutely flawlessly. I can't imagine anyone playing Luke, Han, and Leia other than Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, and Carrie Fisher, respectively. Just like I also couldn't imagine anyone other than Alec Guinness playing an older Obi-Wan Kenobi. Couldn't imagine anyone other than Peter Cushing playing Grand Moff Tarkin. Couldn't imagine anyone other than Anthony Daniels playing C-3PO. And certainly could not imagine anyone other than James Earl Jones doing the voice for Darth Vader. Casting was spotless. Now, as far as the characters themselves, let's go over that. So, Luke, this clearly was the beginning of Luke's story, which I'll get into here in a little bit. But I thought Mark Hamill absolutely nailed the innocent, naive spirit of Luke Skywalker, of this simple farmer from the backwater of the galaxy that's sent on this grand adventure to save Princess Leia and help take down the Death Star, and just the wonder of being off his farm doing things for the greater good of the galaxy. I thought Mark Hamill portrayed that very well. I think Carrie Fisher did a fantastic job as Leia, and what I really liked about Carrie Fisher's portrayal of Leia, not just in this movie, but all of the original trilogy, is that she was a female character that pretty much could fit into any role that you put her in. She made a good damsel in distress. She made a good leader of the rebellion, and when push came to shove, she could hold her own in a firefight. And then Han Solo, I honestly think that Han Solo was like the best casting out of all of the main characters, and that was a close contest, but I think Han Solo played his character the best with his natural smugness, natural charisma, and this was no better exemplified than the much debated Greedo scene. Now, full disclosure, the version of A New Hope that I watched for this video was the one that was on Disney+, so it shows Greedo shooting first and the added McClunky line. And I know that Han shot first, or Han shot period, as some people have told me, versus Greedo shooting first has been a widely debated topic ever since the special editions came out. Frankly, I'm neutral to the whole argument. It doesn't matter to me who shot first. All that matters is that Greedo's dead. And that Han, that scene is just a perfect example of Han's character, where he will first try and talk himself out of any sort of situation that he can, if given the opportunity, but clearly he saw that that wasn't working, so he had to resort to drawing his gun and taking care of the problem. And then Obi-Wan Kenobi, like I said, I thought Alec Guinness played a perfect older Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan Kenobi is my favorite character of all the Star Wars movies, and even though I may prefer Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan, and I'm lumping the Clone Wars Obi-Wan in there too, even though I may prefer Obi-Wan in his younger days to Obi-Wan here, I still think Alec Guinness did a great job of playing the wise old mentor that shows Luke his first steps into becoming a Jedi, and Obi-Wan's sacrifice at the end, allowing himself to be struck down just by holding his lightsaber up in front of him, allowing the heroes to escape, was done perfectly. Like, you could see in his eyes, he did not want to kill Vader. He was only there to allow Luke, Han, Leia, and the droids, and Chewie, to escape the Death Star. Speaking of villains, let's talk about Vader. Vader was an amazing villain in A New Hope. Just the way that he was introduced, of him walking onto that cruiser after his stormtroopers had completely slaughtered all the rebel troops there, just showed you automatically that this was going to be a force to be reckoned with throughout the movie. And this visual of him choking Captain Antilles, holding him almost over a foot off the ground just by his neck, choking the life out of him, was a terrifying visual, showing that this was going to be one tough guy to beat. Even to the point of showing that even his own men, even his fellow Imperials, if they tried to defy him or put their big boy pants on and try and talk back to him, even they suffered at the hands of Darth Vader, as you saw in that one conference scene where the one Imperial guy is choked by Darth Vader's force choke. And then, of course, you also have Grand Admiral Thrawn pretty much at Vader's side for the majority of the movie. Darth Vader and Grand Moff Tarkin, did I say Grand Admiral earlier? I did. I'm thinking Grand Admiral Thrawn. Grand Moff Tarkin, that's what I meant to say. Darth Vader and Grand Moff Tarkin balance each other out to me in this movie, because you have, as Leia described it, Darth Vader, this beast that's very powerful, but it's being kept on a leash by Grand Moff Tarkin, the more suave, gentlemanly villain, the one that you, in any other movie, might see sitting in an armchair drinking a martini. Peter Cushing, I thought, did an amazing job. He was intimidating in his own right, especially in the scene where he was trying to interrogate the information of the rebel base out of Leia, and ended up firing on Alderaan anyways. Now, we all know that both of them ended up not being the true villain, but at least in A New Hope by itself, it always struck me that Grand Moff Tarkin was the true villain and that Darth Vader was the henchman, and I think they both played that dynamic very well. And then finally, C-3PO and R2-D2. R2, of course, great comic relief alongside C-3PO. And like I said, Anthony Daniels did a great job, especially having to act all stiff in that metal suit. And I also kind of want to touch base on Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. And this is kind of where I start transitioning into talking about the story. The story of A New Hope is basically the first part of what I would call the hero's journey that spans the entire trilogy, where the hero rises from humble origins and is called to this grand adventure to defeat evil. And at first he may doubt his calling, but then he answers the call and eventually becomes the hero that the galaxy needs. And A New Hope is a great first part of that story, and I liked how Uncle Owen, at least this is how I interpreted it, he represents what Luke's life would be like had he never left Tatooine. Just another moisture farmer trying to scrape a living from the sands of Tatooine. Which is, you know, reasonable enough if that's your thing, but it's clear that Luke wanted more. Even exemplified when Luke, like I said, when he was doubting that he should go with Obi-Wan to save Princess Leia, using excuses like, I've got work to do, it's late, and it's such a far away from here. Which Obi-Wan rightly points out that was his uncle talking through Luke, and that Luke clearly had a destiny bigger than that. I really like that. But even without that, the hero's journey was completed within A New Hope itself, and had Empire and Jedi not been made, A New Hope could have just remained Star Wars and stayed a standalone movie. And in my opinion, it would have worked really well, because you had Luke, like I said, starting in a humble place on Tatooine, the backwater of the galaxy, hearing the call to adventure, going on that adventure, rescuing the princess, and then later leading an attack on the big baddies, the Empire, and triumphing over evil by destroying the Death Star. And at the end, he receives his medal and is celebrated as a hero. That's pretty much, at least my interpretation of the hero's journey right there. But of course we know that the story continued and that there's a little bit more to it than that. So overall, what do I think of this movie? I think it is one of the most important movies in movie history, which leads me into another thing that I want to talk about, and that is what it took to make this movie and the creativity behind it. George Lucas, this truly was a passion project of George Lucas, and everything in this movie just looked amazing. It was creative. I really liked especially the designs for the ships and the armor of the stormtroopers, and a lot of what we take for granted today in as far as creativity and movie making technology, Star Wars started. So next time you go see a movie that has a whole bunch of CGI, a whole bunch of really cool looking armor or ships, thank Star Wars. So those are my thoughts on Star Wars A New Hope. I hope you guys enjoy this. Like I said before, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, hit the little bell icon, and please leave a like on this video. And if you have your own thoughts on Star Wars A New Hope, let me know in the comments. Thank you very much.